Well, guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on obviously when you're picking up the video. Anyone feeling any better? I'm not. I still feel deflated, kicked in the ribs, kicked in the stomach, raging, pretty raging, just not happy, just really angry after last week, guys, and just I don't know. I need someone to lift me. Well done, Rangers. You ruined my weekend and you've ruined the next couple of weeks, really, because that's what's going to be constantly going round in your brain, isn't it? The PSV game and then the Celtic game is going to come back round. The PSV, we're out of the Champions League. We lost 5-1, then we lost to Celtic, and we're not in top of the league, and they're top of the league. And oh my God, we're going to have to put up with their rubbish for another God knows how many months. And oh, it's just a nightmare. It is a nightmare, isn't it? And look, we'll quickly reflect on the game, and then we're going to talk about possibility of Michael Beale leaving the club. We're going to talk obviously as well about what Kris Boyd had to say about the game post-game. Had some interesting conversations, interesting points to make. Where we're at as well as a club. Where are we? You know, we're going into the international break. Where are we as a club at this moment in time? You know, let's look at the stats very quickly from yesterday's game at Ibrox. You know, in terms of shots, we had 17 shots to 7, but in terms of shots on target, Rangers had 3, Celtic 5. They had more shots on target than us. Their possession equaled itself out in the end, 49% to Rangers, 51% to Celtic. Celtic were on 79% at the end of the first half. But then again, let's face it, we did sit back and let them have the ball in what was a truly cowardly display in that first half. We'll talk about that shortly. 464 passes from Rangers to 482 from Celtic. Their pass accuracy was better than ours, 78 to 74. Equal number of fouls, equal number of yellows, 5 Rangers offsides. There was an awful lot of offsides in that game. There was a real lack of awareness of the defensive line from our strikers. Dessers, in particular, was awful at reading the game. 1 offside for Celtic, 6 corners for us, 2 corners for them. Look, in terms of the team, was Kris Boyd sneaking in? All right, no, Kris, it's not your time yet. Kris, just wait, Kris. Hold your power, mate. Hold your powder. In terms of team selection, I didn't really understand the team selection in the end. The team, you look at the team, and it was a strange formation, wasn't it? Initially, you know, it was a 4-3-3, but a very narrow 4-3-3 with Matondo towards the left and Roof towards the right, and Dessers down the middle. And Roof, who is our best striker, was on the wing, and Dessers, who is a donkey, was through the middle. And it just, I don't know, it didn't seem to work very well at all. And it seemed we resorted to pumping high balls over the top, you know, for Dessers to chase, about 6 of them. And he actually got through, but he hasn't got the pace to get after the ball because he's a bit of a cart horse, really, when it comes to running after balls. He's not the fastest player in the world, and he does lack a step of pace. And it's not really the best way to use him. You know, he is good in the air. Don't get me wrong; he is very good in the air, but you know, he'd be better off playing as a part of a 2. I don't think you can use Dessers as a lone striker. I think he very much is a 2. You know, Dessers has got to have someone to play off him, and you know, perhaps if we use Roof more centrally, that would have been a better plan. Yeah, I get it. VAR goal, it was a goal. You know, looking back at it now, you've got the obstruction rule. I get that, but you know, player kicks Dessers and he falls over. They don't even protest over it. But do we hide behind that decision? Does that make a great deal of difference? I don't think it does, because it doesn't hide the fact that we were so bad in yesterday's game, and we were absolutely appalling. There was no style, there was no shape, no vision, no tactics. There was just nothing in that game yesterday to encourage. It was a poor performance all across. Another poor performance to back up the poor performance on Wednesday night. And where are we going? That's the question I want to ask, is where as a squad are we going? We haven't improved. We have not improved. If anything, we've got worse. And you can't use the excuse that we're gelling. You know, Michael Beale tried to use his excuse yesterday that we're gelling as a team and we need time to click. There was only 3 players on the pitch yesterday who were new signings, only 2 of which were outfield players. That's right. So 8 of yesterday's team were here last season using the same tactics Let's rewind tactics that we were using yesterday. So I don't understand how we can use that excuse when you've only got 3 new signings in the squad. You can't use that excuse. Other teams don't use that excuse. So for me, that's a BS excuse, and it's not an excuse at all. And look, it's rubbish. Anyone who says it's all about gelling, and anybody who says they need more time to gel as a team is talking utter crap, in my opinion. Michael Beale's press conference post game, I thought Stevie Clifford and David Edgar asked some very good questions of Michael Beale. Did put him under pressure, in terms of his record in big games, and also the fact that he didn't use, he only used 2 or 3 of the new signings. Some really good questions from Stevie and David. Obviously, Stevie of 4 lads and David of Heart and Hand. And I thought Michael Beale's press conference was rubbish. I just genuinely think the answers he gave were poor. It was the same old answers that were just trotted out were just meaningless for me. I just look, I'm trying so hard to kind of try and maintain a positive aspect towards him and think that he is the man to turn this round, and he needs time, and he needs to be given until at least January. But I'm starting to struggle. I'll be honest with you. I really am starting to struggle to see a way that Beale can turn this around, that Beale can make this team and this squad work. And it's his squad, it's his players. He's got no excuses. But the signings he's made, he's not playing them, and he's not playing them in the right position, and he's not playing the right ones. He's picking Dessers, who, I'm sorry, but Cyril Dessers he's got no speed. He is not a goal scorer. He's not going to score 10 goals or 15 goals this season. He's not going to score between 10 and 15. Let's rephrase that. He doesn't look like he is. He did nothing in that game. Yeah, nothing. I mean, okay, the first pass to Matondo, you've got to strike off because he was miles offside. So, anyone can do that if they're miles offside. Second one, I suppose you've got to give credit to that pass, but it's still Roof's finish. And then Danilo comes on and arguably does more in 30 minutes than Dessers did in the entire game. And I think the attitude towards him was pretty much summed up by the reaction from the Ibrox crowd that when Kemar Roof was taken off and he was left on the field, I think, the boos that rang around Ibrox for that substitution. And Michael Beale got all his substitutions wrong today as well. He got everything wrong today. It was a genuinely awful performance. Look, I'd love to know, is he the man to take us forward? Let me know in the comments. So far, the feeling I'm getting from the podcast last night, if you haven't caught that, go back and check it out. And from the comments on the vote I put up on the community tab, have you lost confidence in Michael Beale, is that he's genuinely lost the fan base. And I don't just mean a minority of the fan base. Listening to all the podcasts tonight, Ravel, Jersnet, etc., listening to Heart and Hand, when you've got even David Edgar coming out and questioning whether this man is the man for the job and questioning whether he should be allowed to continue. Heart and Hand are a club partner. If David Edgar's calling him not the man for the job, then I'm sorry, then you've really got to start having some severe thoughts about Michael Beale as the manager of Rangers. And I'm sorry if you're living in a dream world, if you think he you shouldn't, because he just is poor, very poor for me. Kris Boyd, former Rangers player, he was there today, obviously with Sky. He was absolutely raging. Number one at the VAR decision. Yes, Kris, it's your time. Get yourself on the screen, mate. Not just that, he was raging at quite a few things today, and he's right. Kris Boyd is a player who's been there, seen that, done that, bought the T-shirt for Rangers, isn't he? And he's got his rights to criticise. Someone who's done it, who's done what the club, has got the right to sit and criticise the players. Dessers is not fit to lace this man's boots. Sam Lammers is not fit to lace this man's boots. So, we've got to, I think, listen. He was really critical of Rangers today, and rightly so with what he said. He knows what he's talking about. He's a player who's played at the highest level for Rangers. He slammed the current trend of players who go to clap each section of the fans after Rangers slipped to a controversial defeat on Sunday, as the paper said today. He was left really unimpressed with Michael Beale's side after they opted to take a lap of honour after the game and applaud the fans. I think it's poor. He says, I think his exact quote was, "Get up the tunnel, embarrassing." And it was embarrassing. Why are the players walking around doing a lap of honour after getting beat by your closest rivals in an abject performance that until 75 minutes we didn't have a shot on target? It's embarrassing, absolutely embarrassing. He said, I understand why the fans are frustrated. I don't get this. Celtic done it last week and got booed off as well. For me, just get yourself up the tunnel. It doesn't change anything for me. You're angry, you've lost the game. We'll hear the usual excuses. We're always here when you lose a big game. We're sorry and we'll go again. We'll learn from it. Just get yourself up the tunnel. And he says, Kris Boyd has said as well, he came out and said that Michael Beale must face questions over his future following the club's poor start to the season. And Kris is right. Look, you may not want to sack him. You may not think he should be sacked. And that, I think, is still a point for discussion. And it does seem that I think the majority of fans do want him sacked. But you do need to be critical of him. You do need to critically evaluate what we've done so far as a club this season. And I'll be brutally honest, it's been piss poor. Sorry to swear. But it has been very, very poor so far. The performances have not looked good. The team looks directionless. It looks rudderless. It looks to have no shape, no tactics. It just doesn't look good at all. Rangers currently sit in fourth place in the league. We are 4 points behind Celtic already. This team we've played for, we've won 2, lost 2. We've lost 2 games already at this stage of the season. Who'd have thought that 4 games into the season, this first international, before we lost 2 games? I very strongly suggested that is not a lot of you that would have thought, maybe you thought about 3 victories and a draw, maybe a draw against Celtic, but sometimes that happens in derby games, or even 4 victories. But none of you would have suggested 2-2 being the record at this stage of the season. I think it's not just the coaching. I think we lack leadership on the field. To me, we lack someone to really bring the team together at a time when we are struggling. In that first half, when the defence was sitting really deep and the gap between the defence, midfield and attack was huge, and Celtic were just given the freedom of Ibrox, and Callum McGregor was allowed to strut where he wanted on our pitch. We didn't have any leadership on the field. Nobody was taking charge. Nobody was yelling and screaming and shouting at the players on the field to organise them and galvanise them and move them in the right direction. There was no captain. There was no Terry Butcher out there yelling, shouting, screaming. No Barry Ferguson. You look at when Rangers do well, we have great captains, and we don't have. Look, James Tavernier is not a captain. He's not a captain. No matter what you think of him, whether you think he's a good right back, a bad right back, a great attacker, a great defender, a bad defender, great attacker, whatever you think of him. One thing I think that you have to say at this point is Tavernier is not a captain. He's not a leader of men. You look at the teams. Look, Callum McGregor. I hate Callum McGregor with a passion, but one thing Callum McGregor does is he gets in players' faces, he gets in their ears, he sets the tone for them. You look at other teams around the EPL. You look at the teams that the players they've got as captains, they're leaders. You look at the great captains of other teams that past, the Tony Adamses of this world, for instance. They're leaders, they're tone setters, they're players who get in and organise and coach on the field and lead on the field. We are missing leadership on the field. We don't have leadership. We need someone to come in. We need someone to be that leader on the field, that presence on the field, that captain, that main man on the field that takes charge. And look, I'm not saying drop James Tavernier. I know some of you do want him dropped, but I just don't think he's a captain. He's not a leader of men. And we've won 1 league title, since he's been there. We've won 1 title, that's it. And that's not good enough for Rangers. It just is not good enough for Rangers. It's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. And I get the whole argument, we've had a long journey back, from where we were, from the dark days. But it's no excuse. It's no excuse. This club expects the best. Our fans deserve the best. Our fans spend millions of pounds on this team, and what do we get in return? 11 players that genuinely today look like they couldn't give a toss on the field. That really genuinely looked like they couldn't give a absolute toss today, and it was not right. And Michael Beale, for me, he looks clueless. He doesn't look like he knows what he's doing. He doesn't look like he has a vision, a formation. He doesn't know what his best team is. He doesn't know what his best shape is. The team lacked a shape. It lacks a formation. It lacks width. It just lacks everything. If you ask me, it really, really does. We need a massive improvement this next week, these next couple of weeks, before the St Johnstone game. We need something to come in. We need the team to turn around. We need them to get a clearer vision of where they're meant to be going. They need a more clear direction. They need more clear instruction. They need more they just need more style. They need to play quicker. Today, the play was so slow. We were lucky only to lose 1-0 in the end, if you ask me. Even if that still Dessa's goals goes, and I still think we lose that game. I just think we were so poor. Celtic spurned a lot of chances, and they really did. And another day, they could have had 2-3, I think. It was piss poor. It was really, really poor. Now, former footballer and pundit and Rangers fan Kris Boyd has taken to Twitter and said that Rangers should sack Michael Beale and hire former Chelsea and Brighton manager Graham Potter to replace him. Rangers, obviously, he was embarrassed by the defeat today, calling it an extremely bad result, and talking about the fact that they failed to progress in the Champions League, and they've really shown a lack of direction and a lack of progress this season. Kris Woodhouse tweeted out that Rangers should sack Beale first thing in the morning and go get Graham Potter and let him transform the club. I think he's exactly who they need, and he'd be top of my wish list. Potter has been a man who likes to play football the right way, who likes to organise teams, who likes to get a team playing in a certain way, a creative way. He did well at Brighton. He didn't do so well at Chelsea, but then again, let's face it, Chelsea is an absolute poisoned chalice. I mean, you've only got to look at the fact that even Maurizio Pochettino is making an absolute dog's breakfast of it at this moment in time. So, look, at the end of the day, I'm struggling to kind of. People have asked me about new managers. I haven't really looked into it. Graham Potter is a possibility. I know Knudsen is another one. Even Scottish managers. I know a lot of people turn their noses up at Scottish managers. McInnes, Martindale. All managers who know how to organise a team. So, look, I know we're not at that stage yet. That's why I haven't really looked into it. But I'd love to get your opinion. What would you think? Is it time for him to go? And if it is, who do you want as the new manager? Or is it way too early to make that judgment? Look, we're all disappointed. We're all angry. We're all exceptionally sad at what has happened over the last couple of games. And we need a big reaction over the next few games once we return. But it's going to be a difficult one. Obviously, 2 weeks without football, real football. I know international football is here, but international football is a complete waste of time, in my opinion. So, look, we need to rebuild. We need to not rebuild. We need something to. We need a new direction. We need a clear formation, a clear plan, and we need to organise these players in the right way. I don't believe they become bad players overnight. There are some bad players in the squad. Of course, every squad has bad players. But you look at the core of this squad, it's not terrible. Cantwell, Raskin, Butland, Cifuentes, Kemar Roof, they're not Danilo. They're not dreadful players. That's the thing. And I think if you organise them and use them in the right way, you will get the best out of them. But is Michael Beale the man to do that? Who knows? Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, thanks, guys. Thanks for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. As always, guys, please hit the sub, ring the notification bell. You hit the sub, it does help the channel to keep growing. Our aim is to keep on growing and keep on developing, bringing you the same free content every single day. 2 things I always need you to do for me. Number 1, smash the like. And number 2, remember, we are the people.